you know? So with you guys giving advice and just feeding people on how to be a father in hip hop, in hip hop, look at me, in hip hop, in hip hop.
That's the new style.
So, I mean, we have champs of all champs here with me today. From DJing to mixtapes to drink champs to, I mean, mind-blowing. When Laura told me about this, I was like, really? Like, really, this is happening? So I must say, okay, let me start with the basics here. I mean, well, my basics. I'm doing this show because I feel like we're in an industry right now that everything is so fast. You get, you put out to get back. Everybody's with this mentality, but I feel like the love for what we really do and why we get up every day and the motivation behind what we're doing is kind of lost. I want to, recently the DMX and the Snoop Dogg, the versus thing, I was mind blown to see those two men show each other love.
Yeah, that was
DMX
dope.
to say, I love you. And you see him in the background going with the music and riding out. To me, this is what we're missing. I feel like, how are we gonna elevate and how are we gonna take this culture that has it's a true culture that has raised the majority of us.
Yep.
So for you, I know, for the whole first of all, DJing for me, not for me because I DJ, but for me, the way I see DJs is you guys, first of all, you break records, because if you're not playing it, who's playing it, know? And you move a crowd. For you guys to move a party or right now, all the virtual DJs online right now, and they're, and they're getting all these hits with people just virtually tuning in because at home, music is what moves us. Music is that second language. So I want to know, where did it all begin for you? Where was the love for why hip hop? Why music? Where did it all begin for you?
Man, I mean, that's a loaded question and then it's a long answer. Let me see if I could condense it and give it to you in a way that is palatable. Yeah. I mean, look, as a kid growing up, I come from a divorced family. My parents broke up when I was, 5 years old. I was born in Los Angeles, moved to Miami when I was really young. This was a foreign place to me. Like, my whole youth was really kind of like shaken and fucked up by my parents divorcing and then, single parent and just the struggles that go with that and economics and all of that stuff. I gravitated to things that gave me comfort, where I couldn't find comfort anywhere else. And music was one of those things. And at first it was just like the music around me. My older cousins were listening to disco and my mom's listening to salsa and merengue and just like Latin jazz, Cuban Afro jazz. And then other people around me were listening to like rock and heavy metal and thrash and all that stuff. And then actually that stuff spoke to me because I was a little skater kid. And so that was like punk rock, and I was into like all this like counterculture music. But a lot of music from movies is what really like caught my attention and was really made me like a fan of music. And I would visualize the scenes in the movies with the music. and one of the earliest like songs with a movie that I remember just captivated me was Beverly Hills Cop. It was that one song, dan, 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 and I thought it was Axel Foley, I thought it was Eddie Murphy with the gun, and I'm like playing it out with my little boombox outside my crib, and that was me, and I just loved, and I just put music to like visuals always. And in movies, there was also like time period movies where they would put the music from that era for it'd be like the 50s or the 60s or whatever. So moving forward, as hip hop started to infiltrate my boombox basically, and and I'm a little b-boy now, and there's Michael Jackson and all this different stuff, and I'm starting to hear Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick and Two Life Crew here in Miami and Run DMC and NWA, all this stuff. I start to realize that this is like the music of my generation, because I was loving this other music, but this other music was from other people's, an older generation. So then I was like, at a young, I'm talking about like now junior high for me, I start to say to myself, man, like this is the music of my generation. And it made me want to be a complete fan of it and really learn about it, to the point where as I got a little bit older in high school, I was like, I can actually get involved in it. It's still in its early stages where I could actually be a part of this history that's happening and it's unfolding right now. And if not on the national scale, I could definitely do something on a local scale. And that's how like my passion for hip hop and music in general came together.
Wow, that's so awesome. I mean, my father was 17 when he had me. I feel like, you know, we kind of grew up together, and that was that era too. And it was just that. It was like at home, my grandmother was either the church or the salsa. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Then my aunts were doing it all, from the freestyle to the Spanish. Then my father
Yeah.
was doing the hip hop. And it was something that raised me on so many different levels, you know, to captivate me on so many different positions. So now you went into DJing in Miami and you go into mixtaping, right? You're making mixtapes.
Right.
What was it about mixtapes that you loved? Creating mixtapes.
Well, okay, so mixtapes were just dope because it was a way to get the music in Miami, you know, and because in Miami we were a little bit behind at that time. It's early 90s. The radio out here wasn't really playing hip hop like that at all. They'd only play like whatever the biggest hit was. We didn't have mix shows. We didn't have local mixtape DJs. We didn't have clubs that were really popping. I was too young anyways, but there wasn't a lot of clubs anyways that were doing hip hop. Hip hop just wasn't anywhere that you could really find it. You had to really, really look for it or dig in somewhere in the underground to find it. And so when I started to think about how can I kind of help the local scene, I started looking around me, and there was a couple DJs that were already like doing underground radio, and I did that eventually on pirate radio, it's called, and underground radio, and I did some college radio, and then but there was cats on the radio, then there was cats that are already making their names like in the party scene, and then kind of going into the club scene. So I was like, okay, and then there was guys that were turntablist DJs, the world renowned DJ Craze, one of the biggest DJs in the world for turntablism, the tricks and stuff. So I can't do none of that stuff. You know, like they already got those lanes. So I saw the mixtape lane kind of open. Nobody was doing it consistent. And we were getting all these mixtapes, Tony Touch and SNS and Clue and all these things. But these things were all repping, these tapes were all repping New York. And, you know, they were dope, but they, you know, guys in Miami or people in Miami were like, yeah, like Brooklyn, Queens, like we need to talk about like Hialeah and Little Havana and Little Haiti. You know, like, you know, the music cool, but we need a little bit more stuff to be familiar with. And that's why I took on the mixtape, you know, lane and said, all right, I'm gonna do this for Miami and put it on my back. And that's the reason.
Wow, that's so amazing. When going into entertainment, what was the difference there? Because now these are two worlds that, or do you feel that it really wasn't different?
No,
There was a difference.
Yeah, I mean, when you're saying it, I'm assuming you mean like the industry, like being in the
Yes.
industry versus being just a fan or in the culture.
Yes.
100% totally different. But I knew that in order to really get things going, and if I was going to take it as a career and try to make a living off of it, I need to be a part of the industry side of it. And that was another thing that I'm like, how am I gonna do this from Miami? Like when I told my friends in high school, because it's right in end of high school is when I decided I wanted to try to do this seriously. A lot of my friends are like, you're crazy. You don't know nobody. You know, like we're from Miami. Nobody, like the industry's in New York or maybe even LA and kind of in Atlanta. But you don't know anybody. I was like, I don't know. I'll figure it out. We'll figure this out, you know? And so, I mean, I just started figuring things out. And luckily, some conventions came to Miami, these early hip hop conventions. One was called How Can I Be Down that Def Jam used to sponsor. And I was like, oh, this is an opportunity here. So I went to the first few of them, and through those conventions, I was able to network and meet people. And it was an early enough time in hip hop where the artists were just happy to be kind of recognized outside of like New York or wherever. They're like, oh, you know who I am? And then like, I'm talking about like meeting Busta and meeting Biggie and meeting Redman and all these people in the early 90s. It was just like crazy. I met
But
Big
someone
Pun.
who didn't know anybody, huh?
Yeah, and then I'm meeting these people. It's funny because I did a show the other day where you show like different things you have, you know, like stuff that you collect. And I found one of my old books that I used to put all the business cards, and I had all these old business cards from people that are huge executives now, but back in those days, what they were doing.
Look at that.
So yeah, that's how I was able to start to meet people. And, I was, representing myself as the dude from Miami that they needed to know and help break their records. And most of the people were with it,
And bringing Miami to that level, because let's be clear, you found the lane, which I love about you. I've seen you talk about in a few interviews that, you're looking for, you're like, okay, I don't know about this, but I see a lane in this. I
Right.
see, I see where this could take me. So whether I know people, whether I don't know people, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna figure this out. That motivation that goes behind you when you're jumping from business to business and you're dibbing and dabbing and all of that. Talk to us about that motivation. What drives you?
Well, let me just, one thing that I could say about that I learned pretty quickly is that, you get intimidated to do things you don't know. You think that the industry or people maybe in these record labels or whatever, they got all their shit together, and you're just like, I don't really know. I don't know anything. So I'm going to look stupid, or you're afraid to look stupid. I learned quickly that they don't know shit either, that they don't got their shit together. So it's really who talks the best game. So I remember I used to just present myself in a manner that they were just like, yo, this motherfucker got his shit together, and a lot of times they wouldn't, and I would catch them slipping, and they just, it just opened up doors in a sense, because they're like, oh man, he's got his shit together better than we do. And I just, my persistence was the thing. And I always try, one of the things that I try to pass on to anybody, I mean, younger folks, but anybody that's willing to listen, is I was a young guy. I had a crew of like 10, 15 dudes. And there was a time where we were aggressive about it, because we felt like people didn't want to respect like the South. They didn't want to respect Miami. They didn't want to respect most of us were Latino, and there was just different reasons why someone wouldn't show us respect. And so sometimes we felt like we had to take it and like get a little aggressive with it. And we had numbers to do that. But to be honest with you, what I found the most useful was a method of polite persistence. Like people know you got like the team, you got the, you're willing to go in there and be a little aggressive if you have to, but you don't need to do that if you're about your shit for real, and you just politely, approach people. And if they don't tell you no outright, then you just keep pushing politely, not annoying, not ignorant. And, eventually that person might be in a day where they need something. They're like, man, that one dude, pretty cool ass motherfucker. He's always hitting me up, and he's always nice about it. And, he's never too pushy. I'm going to give him a shot, or her a shot. And I think that polite persistence will take you a lot further than a lot of people that kind of get like, they have like a grudge and they get mad if you don't do something for them. I would tell people, try that route, and you'd find you'd get better results. It takes a while, but eventually those results start to pile up and start to happen.
And, the way I'm interpreting that as well is almost like when you naturally doing something, you're doing it. I love what I'm doing. So technically I'm doing this because, I want to do it, whether or not whoever comes and notices. I mean, yeah, you also have your hunger on the side that you want specific people to notice you. But at the same time, you're like, this is for me right now, so we're
absolutely 100%.
Okay. So now let's get into Drink Champs. I really want to know, what's the love behind working with Nore? That's what I really want to.
like our friendship? Like, how does it?
Your friendship, the work ethic. I mean, I know the story behind, you worked with him, and then he was like, let's keep building. And from there, you guys kept building, and where you guys are at now. But what's that motivation behind what you guys do on a daily? Because, I mean, I've worked with people that I'm like, I got to go work with this person today. Right. So the love behind that. And again, like I was saying earlier, I feel like in the industry, we don't big each other up at times,
Absolutely.
People working and they're like, oh, this is great. This show is great. But what goes behind that? You know what I'm saying? Well, what's the relationship there between those two people, those two men that are making this work? That's an energy that you guys are putting out, that we're captivating to that show because of the energy you guys are putting out. Appreciate so I want to know behind that. I want to know all about that.
Yeah, I mean, to make it simple, we're such a yin and yang personality that it works. And the truth is, we are yin and yang in a lot of ways, but then there's a lot of things that we're alike as well. But we're really completely different people in the way we do things and the methods, and just in the fact that he's an artist and I'm a DJ. But that was the point. The point was to bring that new dynamic of what an MC and the DJ bring to the table. That's what I wanted
to hear, honestly.
And that's why like he, he leads the conversation. He is Nore, the character, and that is the role that it's supposed to be. And as a DJ, I play behind the scenes a lot. I do exactly what a DJ does on stage. And that's, it works because of that. Because if both of us were the MCs or both of us were the DJ role, it wouldn't work. And we both know our position in that sense. And, you know, yeah, like I said, the yin and yang, sometimes, you know, we clash in business things or different ideas. But I think the longevity of Drink Champs is our differences and us knowing it. And we've learned to like just sit down and just do what comes naturally to us, you know, and that's what makes it work.
It's so crazy because as I'm watching it, I'm like, this is like a concert on another level. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is exactly that. That's exactly how I saw it. So I really wanted you to say exactly that point, that it's an artist with the DJ. And it's like, you come in when you need to. You
I bring in the cut. I set up the record. Then I let him spit. And then, okay, you need a break. All right. And, you know, like, that's what we do. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
I freaking love it. I love that dynamic. That's truly genius. You guys have mastered that. And then podcasting and going into that and how big it is for us right now, especially at a time during COVID. Yeah. You know, how I feel like right now, internet is really being used in all the right ways, you know, in a lot of the right ways, because we were taking advantage of it, you know. And I feel like although COVID is such a scary time, it's that too, where are we taking this to? Because this is a new way of life.
Innovating,
so, exactly, totally. And with saying that, are you working with the youth? I know you guys did something in 2012, right? With the youth, you went out to your country where you're from. What was that?
No, yeah. Well, that's a documentary series separately that I'm doing. It's called Coming Home.
And you're still doing it?
Oh yeah. I'm in post-production. We went to South Africa last year, or was it early this year? I don't know. I forget now. But it's our next film. And we went to South Africa, and we haven't released Colombia yet, but we did like the film festival route. Africa's our 6th film in the series.
Wow.
And then we have a lot of exciting things going on behind the scenes where, because of everything going on now, this content that we're creating and this digital content is even more valuable. So there's a lot of people that want to get involved in what we're doing with the Coming Home series. But yeah, I went to Cuba, which is, you know, my parents' homeland, to follow my roots. And that was dope. And then we went to Haiti and Peru and Vietnam, Colombia, and we talked to all the different generations of hip hop going on there. We try to talk to the OGs, the young cats doing it. And we're always talking, for myself and Drink Champs together. We're always trying to have dialogue with the youth, but at the same time, we feel that there's been a change where there's like the generations has split, and they kind of don't see eye to eye, and they don't respect each other.
You still haven't got the Wu-Tang yet?
No disrespect, I don't know who they is. I don't know none of their songs. I don't even know what they look like.
And I have my opinions on it, which I've spoken it on Drink Champs, where I feel like my generation, not necessarily me, but we dropped the ball because it was the generation that made the most money in hip hop at one point. And then everybody just wanted to stay fucking YG forever in the club, you know, and they just forgot.
We still want to be in that era.
You're going to grow older, and if you don't start to teach these jewels down to the next generation, the next generation is not going to think of you when there's going to be a gap, and that's what happened. So yeah, we always try to have that conversation, but I think what we're doing that's important for the youth is what I think we did is we're building up the OGs again and building that respect. And I think what made Drink Champs is young people saying, yo, I could watch these older cats have fun, and this is actually entertaining, and I'm learning about the history of the culture, and it gives them a newfound respect for the OGs, you know, in their eyes.
Wow. But going back to you traveling the world, and again, it brings us back to hip hop being a culture.
Right.
You know, teaching that. Me as a language teacher, I see music as a second language. You know, for me, my students don't speak English, but they're rocking out to Cardi B. Right, and I'm like, oh, you didn't do my homework last night, but you know all the lyrics to Cardi B, you know? Right. But again, it's that connection. It's that I can hear this and feel like I'm a part of something, or just feel good inside. Mm-hmm. And I love that dynamic when I saw what you guys were doing and what you were doing. And I truly, truly love that. So what's to come?
With Drink Champs or with everything?
With everything. Because the Drink Champs is it's a big piece of you, but it's just a little piece of you. I'm not, you know, for me, it's how far you've came in the game. You know, I want to talk to these innovators. I want to talk to these creators who have taken it from that time and are still in it, accepting it for what it is. And because I feel like we have to, as the older people, we have to accept it too. You know, they are those sounds that are just going to be boom bap. They are those sounds, but at the same time, the culture didn't start from, and that's the message we want to get out there. So sometimes that gets a little twisted.
Yeah.
So with artists, yeah, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, so, you know, with a person like you who's done so much in the game, and I feel who's carried the culture for us. I mean, there's so much that goes behind that. So that's what I really want to, you know, when I wanted to talk to you, this is what it really is about for me. You know, Drink Champs is, you know, you're the champ in so many things. That's why I started out with that. So what's next for you?
I mean, I'm going to continue, obviously, Drink Champs. We're always trying to find innovative ways to expand the brand. I have another podcast because I'm a new father. I'm an OG, but I have 2 young kids. I have an infant of about to be 2 months and 2 years that I told you about. So I have a podcast called Fatherhoods with 2 homies of mine, because I used to get on the phone with them because, you know, all my homies had kids already. And I'd be like, yo, I need a dad advice. And so we decided to create a podcast that is kind of like fatherhood from the hip hop perspective. And we have hip hop artists and executives and guests that talk about, we even have like Angie Martinez was on there talking about being a mother. We had her for the month of May. And we had a couple different Bum B talking about being a grandfather and different people. So fatherhood is a big thing that I'm pushing and I love doing. The Coming Home series is just such a passion project of mine that I just want to really see that. I want to be the Anthony Bourdain of hip hop. And I don't say that loosely. A lot of people use Anthony Bourdain, but I say that very seriously. And just, you know, help continue to consult and give advice to people, and anybody that's listening that I can talk to and help them build themselves up and do something positive, whether it be for the community or in music. I'm always trying to do that. I'm always trying to use my platforms, my sites, and anything like that to help new artists or whatever I can do, you know, to an extent of without overdoing it for myself.
like you said before, it has to be, you know, just the right amount. Just the right
amount, yeah. And, you know, and that's it. Just try to keep finding the passion, because without the passion for the culture, it's all lost. And that's what traveling has helped me do. Like, it helps revive my passion for hip hop, because I go to these countries and it almost feels like I'm going back in time for myself, seeing them all excited about hip hop and loving all the elements of it. And they're just like, it's not about making money, you know, which I want them. They all want to make money, don't get me wrong, but they just love the essence of doing it. And I'm like, oh man, you just revive my passion. I come back all the battery in my back. So that's it. Just keep pushing these things we're doing in these brands.
And I want to say that whole idea with the fatherhood podcast, I feel like in the industry, there's a little pressure behind artists. If it's a woman who gets pregnant and not being able to work. So you doing that really breaks down that wall. You know, you saying that's the first thing that came to mind, because there's so many people who really think, like, I mean, it's a really old mentality, but people still feel that I'm about to have a baby and my life has to stop for a little while. Right. You know, so with you guys giving advice and just feeding people on how to be a father in hip hop, look at me, in hip hop,
that's the new style.
Hip hop. it's the happy part of the hip hop. So, you know, it really, that's such a beautiful thing to hear.
And just people hearing our honest journey as parents, that's not that pretty, you know, like we fucking up like anybody else, and we're trying to figure it out, and we changing diapers, and we're getting pissed on, and, you know, and my daughter's in her terrible twos and I don't know what to do. Like, I think it helps when people can hear other people, you know, that they might think, you know, lives a different kind of life, say, nah, man, I'm living the same life you living right now.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, I couldn't go clubbing last night because I had to be home with the wife and the kids, you know? That's real.
It is different. I got 2 babies. We ain't sleeping. And
ain't nothing going on. Oh, my goodness. I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
EFN, I mean, this was a true honor. I thank you so much. And I can't wait to see all the other stuff that are coming out. I'm going to keep tuning into you, and God bless always. Thank you again.
Likewise. Thank you. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.
Later. Be safe out there.
Oh, yes, you too, man.
Yeah.
Good luck with everything tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
God bless.